Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here at Adventures of the Heart, Building Wisdom Through Experience. And I am Cynthia Gardner ONeill. I am one of your hosts today, along with my co-host, Lynn Hawkins. Today, you're going to find Lynn and I talking about relationships and connecting hearts from around the world. And I'm just going to say a little bit about myself, and then I'm going to turn it over to Lynn for a moment. And I am Cynthia Gardner ONeill, and I am a founder of the Center for Loving Consciousness. It's a heart-centered community working with wellness providers to help bring more well community into the world. And also, I have developed some courses and a membership called Harmonics, which is Harmonized Life. It's the harmonics of the heart. It's what keeps us happy, healthy, and vibrant. And I always say a healthy heart for a healthy mindset to create the life you love. So, Lynn, why don't you come on in and introduce yourself, and we're gonna move on from here and connect with all these people from all around the world. And how exciting is that?
Very exciting. I am so excited. I'm always thrilled to be a part of this show and a part of this community. And just because of what we're talking about tonight, being able to, by virtue of Google Hangouts and other real, to make those connections around the world and nurture them, bring them closer into the heart. And I'm so glad you mentioned that open hearts. And I do believe that, when you start out with an open heart, it gets filled with open hearts. And my name is Lynn Hawkins. I am the founder and dean of the P3 Academy of Social Entrepreneurship, where we help the savvy social entrepreneur move into their expression of their purpose and planning their next moves, implementing to do the 360-degree entrepreneurship journey with ease and joy and grace. And I'm just so excited to be here, to be a part of this show, to be a part of what Your Heart Ventures is doing. And, Cynthia and I were starting off, as we do sometimes, what are we going to talk about? And while we kind of knew what our we know what our agenda is, we weren't quite sure how it was going to flow. But when we started reminding each other of a couple of things, we felt the heart connection reignite. And I have to say that, Cynthia, we've been doing these shows weekly since January 8th. Do you remember that? We launched 1815, January 8th, 2015. And while it was you and I on that inaugural show, we talked about the vision of connecting hearts around the world. And in that conversation, we even talked about some of the people that we intended to have on the show. And I have to tell you that we have more than been successful in bringing those people in. People like Matt Pearlstein, the EQ dude from California, from Northern California, and the Tall Trees, Terry and Chief Robert Talltree, who spoke of the ancient wisdom of the Native Americans and being in the space of heart with what the Chief Robert brings to the world, and Terry. It was just amazing to take the journey on from there and into the conversations that we've had with so many others that we've brought on the show. Do you realize that we are doing tonight our 20th show? 2020.
Right on.
Yeah.
And we've connected with people from all over the world. And it has been fascinating. Matt Pearlstein that we just talked about, I followed my heart. I was actually looking around for information on on the heart, on the wisdom of the heart, or, I put in this thing called the smart heart. And I came up with I met a group of people who were putting together a documentary called EQ, the Smart Heart. And I thought, I have to get to know these people. So I went out and contacted them. And in that process, I met Matt Pearlstein. And then you talk about the tall trees. How did I meet them? Actually, I live in Colorado and so do they. But I didn't meet them because we lived in the same place. I met them because also I became a part of an online community called Directions University, where I also became a faculty member where I teach the service mindset. And it's amazing how I have established some incredible business relationships such as you, Lynn. Lynn lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and we've never met personally. But now we're on the road. We've established a joint venture, started doing this web TV show, but our hearts have connected, and we're going to talk a lot more about that later. Then we've also had Aileen Boundy on here. She was from England, and we met Simon Vorster. And we've just allowed our hearts to guide us to what feels in alignment with our own hearts, what's harmonizing with us. And we've been guided to the perfect people who are speaking to our hearts, that heart-centered community we're talking about. Simon Vorster is over in Sweden. Yes, we've had to do a couple of our shows where we have to pre-record because of the time difference, but we're still able to present to you guys and bring this information and people from all over the world to connect and come in and share. And what we're finding is where we're connecting is in our hearts. And there's people all around the world who are feeling the same thing we are. They're feeling the shift in this world. And the heart, I call it love and the resurrection of the heart, which we're working on putting together a documentary, writing a book with a lot of these people who have been coming on the show. It's going to be really big. It's going to be a movement that's going to change lives and really bring heart back into the world where it belongs, because that's exactly who we are. Our heartbeat, from that heartbeat is what creates our world and makes it worth being here. Mm-hmm.
There are so many of us, and I'll just call it former people who think that they were formerly mostly left-brained. But what we knew was there was something different about us. While we were very systematic and analytical and methodical and, did things very sequentially, and it appeared that maybe we did not have the right brain functioning going on. What I've come to realize is those left brain people who are resonating with us now, who are in those worlds of linear thinking, who are saying, there's something still missing just a little bit here, because, in my work, I love when I'm able to create. I love when, the system is set, but it's not documented, and I can go and create that documentation, or I can bring to our meeting or our seminar a degree of levity that allows things to not just flow, but to have a different aura of color and excitement about it. And these are people who think that they are truly just left brain. I have to tell you that there is so much left brain, right brain going on there. And if there's anybody out there that has ever thought, I'm this linear thinking and the science has got to prove it all out, yet I know that there's this space called magic. There's this space called universe. There's this space called universal laws. It is truly when you can come into the heart recognizing those truths, bringing them together, and being the you that understands that. And this is something that's I knew, but I didn't know how to articulate. And Cynthia has introduced me to the appropriate languaging of brain balance
Whole
and the
brain
fact
balance.
that whole brain balance. See, I'm still getting it. Whole brain balance, where the left brain and the right brain play together. And you are able to really feel not just comfortable in your own skin, joyous, because you're moving forward, you're being who you were really called to be, and contributing at a level of joy and excitement that says that while you enjoy being this linear person, that air of creativity creeping in brings you into whole brain balance. Oh, I love that. I'm gonna have to use that.
Yeah, baby.
And some of the people that we've had on the show have just really confirmed it. Marilyn Asplund from Campbell, California, just around the corner from San Jose, California, is a heart math coach. And her business, Heart Synergy, is where she actually teaches the synergy of heart and mind, much like what we're bringing to you, what Cynthia does through Harmonics. And we've had her on the show expressing in the conversation of the heart in life and in business and improving relationships. And we've had Sarah Rockwell. And you know what? Sarah lives in Rhode Island, I think, Massachusetts, somewhere up north in cold country. And she is a heart virtues facilitator. And for her, it is truly about the heart in identifying your strengths, your preferences, and the who that you actually show up as. And what's nice about that is in the process that she guides you through, you actually see the you that you are now and understand that you can evolve, and some of those heart virtues can change. And that was pretty eye-opening for me too. What about you, Cynthia?
Oh yeah, well, as soon as I learned what my heart virtue was, I think I really shifted. That's when I really came out of my shell, because I so connected with what I learned about myself. And it was, so I'm committed to truth, freedom, and self-expression. And boy, when I stepped into that truth, and I began to express myself, and I felt so free, to be able to be me. It just helped bring me into who I am. And I think the more people get into their hearts, like we said, that when we get into our hearts, we get into that whole brain balance. We begin to know who we are. I was just having a conversation actually with Aileen Boundy, who we had on here, who is in England. And we were talking about, that experience of self-expression and really getting to know who we are. And she's also been getting to know more of who she is. And she said how much easier it is for her to do the work she's here to do and to be. She teaches align with your purpose. And it's beautiful work that she does. And it was really exciting to hear her speak that way, because that's exactly how I've been feeling since I've really been learning about, everything about the heart, and been able to really come out and teach about the heart and how it just has everything to do with our work, and Khalil Gibran, learning what he said about work is love made visible. What am I here to do? What am I here to be? And this is my work, sharing the heart, teaching loving consciousness. And work is making love. Work is love made visible for me, because the more I know who I am, the more I know who I am, the more I connect with the people who I'm supposed to connect with in a very incredible way that you would never imagine. People all of a sudden, either call you, or all of a sudden you have this aha moment with a connection, either online when you're looking for something specific, or it just comes from nowhere. Yet it comes from, I feel our hearts, are what are not only our central communication center for every single cell in our body, but also for everything in the that ever was and ever will be. Okay, the I, the one, the all there is and all that there ever will be. We connect to it all. That is the oneness of all of life, is that heart-centeredness, that love, the basis of everything. And so having that communication with several people these days, about how they really are getting to know themselves and how much easier it is for them to connect with people who they resonate with and want to connect with. And and life is getting, really, if you allow yourself to get to know yourself and start understanding yourself, and I'm going into and accepting yourself and then moving into self-love, you will be amazed at how much easier life gets. But too many people, we've been so taught to, that we need to control life, or that we're not good enough. So we kind of live in this place of not really wanting to be who we are, because we've been maybe punished for being who we are, because we don't do it like our parents, or we don't do it like someone, in the education system or whatever. And we get, told that you're doing it wrong. Don't do it that way. You're not doing your best. And guess what we do? We end up shoving down who we are, and we get desensitized. Also, we don't want to feel who we are. Oh my God, if we should do that, we wouldn't be accepted. But the thing is, what our truth is, feeling is a power. Love is a power and not a process. All those things are our power. They are what bring us into the world so that we can stand up in our truth and really come out strongly and meet with the people that we're supposed to be here to meet. And so it's been very, very powerful. And such as, having Simon Vorster on, he's the evolutionary astrologer. He's raising vibrations. And he talks about, the changes that are going on in the world. And we have recently, back when one of our shows, we were also talking about the new mainstream and how our economy is changing, how the way we communicate is changing, how we are doing education these days. A lot of our education now is through experience with other people who've had that experience. And then online, there's all kinds of courses and memberships and places where we can go and choose, and free will and choice to decide what is right for us. But, a lot of times we don't know what that is. And the most important thing you could ever do for yourself is get to know your heart. And that's who you are. Get to know the self, the relationship with the self. Starts right here, right inside of you. And
it's a journey.
With that?
It's a journey, and it can be a beautiful journey if you are truly open to what your heart is going to reveal to you. And one of the things that Cynthia and I have really determined set the intention to bring to our audience is the people who can help to open the doors, like what we've talked about. I go back to Sarah Rockwell, and Sarah is someone that we both met as a part of Directions University. And I have to tell you that it was an amazing story for me as well. I was in a group with another Directions University bachelor student who invited me to participate. And having done so and gotten involved and awakened to my truth that I am and love to teach the for-profit business owners how to become higher contributing social entrepreneurs, and how the partnering between for-profit and nonprofit organizations can be so valuable and rewarding for both. And, I woke up one day and it was just like it dropped in my lap. I am truly a social entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And in looking at my life, having grant writing follow me from the age of 17 all the way through my career, even unrelated in commercial real estate, the whole idea behind strategy and the work that I did, not only in the corporate world, but as part of my involvement in the nonprofits over the course of time, um, really showed up when I did my heart virtue. And it is that I am committed to aliveness and self expression, respect, and empowerment. And having gone through that, Cynthia, it's just like you said, you really see yourself. It's like the image in the mirror that's showing you becomes clear. It's like, the fog from the shower has gone away, the condensation has gone away, and you can see the real you. And I'm just really, when I think about who I am and what I bring to the world, what my heart desire is to bring to the world, it truly is around empowering others, empowering women entrepreneurs, empowering girls, empowering women to live higher lives with more ease, more joy. And, when I think about Josie James, who we've had on the show, it has just been such an amazing, amazing opportunity to have connected with her, heard her story, hear how she's showing up in the world at the beautiful age of 88. And to know that she just started her career in her mid 60s, somewhere in her 60s. And those of us who are, transitioning out of corporate America, or, just trying to find ourselves in life, and we know that whatever it is that we're doing, whatever it is that the space is that we're in right now may not be the space that we're going to stay. There's something else that's calling us. There's something that's tugging at our hearts to pull us forward into the truth of who we really are and why we're really here on this planet right now. I think Josie is an amazing example of having the courage and really feeling the pull of her heart to step out and to do what she's doing now. Because can you imagine if you are, 60 something years of age and you're wanting to do something different than you've done for all of your life? How many of your family and friends, even, your kids, could look at you and kind of scratch their head and say, are you okay? Have you lost your mind? And what that might do to you. Yet, one of the things that the gentleman that I interviewed today on the Biz Info Zone show said, he was talking to someone and one of his mentors, and he asked what the secret sauce was to his success. And this was a guy that brought the aquarium to Disney. And the guy, older gentleman, said, it's what Einstein answered when somebody asked him, what did it take to become a scientist? And he said, it only takes two things. And here's the secret sauce. It's a heart's desire and perseverance. Don't stop. Don't ever stop. Don't quit. If that dream is in your heart, it's been placed in your heart, it's been given to you by divine source, and you're trying to figure out if now is the time, if this is that and that is this, and will it work this way or do I have to do it that way? Just stop. Go to your heart. My dear friend Cynthia has told me more than once when I was there, well, what about this and what about that and how about this and how about that? Lynn, just go to your heart and get out of your head, because your heart is much wiser. And going to your heart, not only is it much wiser, it is the energetic essence of you. And when I look at someone like Josie James and I hear her speak with such passion and conviction about her dreams and her vision and her mission, the mission that she's on, you can't help but be inspired. And to hear Brian Ridgway, who's out in Hawaii and doing his amazing work, changing minds by showing them how to get into their hearts by opening their minds. You can't go anywhere until you see the potential and the possibility of what might be in front of you. Once you see that and open the door to that, the infinite possibilities, so much can happen. And he talks about, and I love this about him too, this was another kind of aha moment for me. We are infinite beings of light. And as infinite beings of light, we come from a single source, infinite being of light. And because we come from a source of light, and we are light, you're light, we're all light, we're all related. It makes so much sense now what Chief Robert Talltree talks about. We are all related. We are family. And, most people think from a conscious level, well, you're just talking about we're going back to Adam and Eve. No, we're going back to before Adam and Eve. We're going to source, to the light from which we all came and will continue to come. And the light being created can never be destroyed. And Cynthia, I know you often talk about, and Ron Harvey is here with us tonight. I loved what he brought out. You are never, let me just find it, because that was so key. It comes from nowhere, from whence it comes, yet it is somewhere. It's called infinite light, infinite possibilities, and infinite potential. When you're living there, you're in your heart. When you're living there, your heart can talk to your brain. Your heart can help your brain to decipher the things that can help you to stay in that place. Mm-hmm. And Cynthia, who else have we had on the show that's been so amazing?
Well, we had Anna Maria
yes.
recently also, and she's out in San Francisco, California. And you introduced me to her. Amazing, the people that we've had on here, there have been also people who have come into our awareness or into our lives because of our heart connection. It hasn't been, and think about where you connect with people, okay? This is one thing, I think it's important for us to bring up. And especially if you're an entrepreneur, or any work that you're doing, and your families and everything like that, what gets you to have a relationship with them? What brings people into your world? How do you think that all happens? And it's the same thing as the question I ask people and my clients and stuff. I say, so what motivates you to get up in the morning? What motivates you to do what you do? What motivates you? You know what? Not one person that I've ever asked that question to has said to me, love, my heart. Not one person. Because we've been so, I really believe the heart has been persecuted and love's been persecuted. We've made it out of something that it's not in order to control who we are and how we respond to life. And because when we get into that place of the heart and we get into love, it is all powerful. It is how life creates more goodness into the world. And so when I ask people that question, I say, what motivates you to get up in the morning? They usually say, my family, my kids, my work, I got to pay the bills. Why do you have those bills? So really, let's take it backwards. It's kind of what's the base of you doing the things that you do, being with the people that you're with. You got to go to the level of where it all began. And it's love. You know, nothing would exist on this planet if it wasn't for love. And one of the things I've recently really learned, and I've also taught in one of on, I do believe I was on the Adventures of the Heart talking about harmonics specifically, right?
Sure, yeah.
And the thing is, you know, I talked about the golden ratio, okay, the 1.618 ratio of life. That is, it's a geometric pattern that's in all of life. And actually, do you know that's the same frequency, that the frequency of that is the same as love, of that energy of love, whatever that is. And also people go, well, God, you know, none of us really know what it is. And guess what? We don't even know what energy is. Okay? There's no definition for energy. There is, you know, you can define its function and everything else, but really no one knows where it comes from. They can't define what it is and how it gets here and how it, you know, but we can talk about, you know, here it is and here's what I can do to make it happen and create the physical things to get the energy to come through or the light to turn on or whatever. But really, you think about it, where does that all come from? Does it matter? No. Does it matter with love? No. What matters is that you just feel it's an experience that we're here to have and take it for what feels good. Isn't it so much better to have a great feeling, a feeling of the heart when you meet somebody or when you go to do the work that you're doing? Wouldn't you rather feel good about what you're doing? Because I'll tell you what, if you're not loving your life and you're in stress all the time, you need to look inside and say, I need to do something different because this isn't healthy for me. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people keep pushing and pushing and pushing because they think, well, I need more of this. Maybe I'll be happier. Maybe I'll be happy next week once I hit this other spot. But really take a moment and sit back, feel again. I always say no feeling, no healing. You know, feel again, because when you start feeling what it really feels like to be you and accept yourself for who you are, you start making decisions from a place within your heart, wise decisions that take you into a place of a healthier, happier life with a greater quality of living. You have greater quality relationships. And now I'm talking about quality because we've been in a world where it's been about quantity. More of this. Well, if you want more, you know what? Love more. Love more. Love is actually what's going to bring more things. And a lot of people ask me, well, love can't pay the bills. Well, I tell you what, love gives you the opportunities to pay the bills because it introduces you to the people and the places and the opportunity to do the things that make you happy so that you are happy and joyous. And wouldn't you rather do it that way? Wouldn't you rather be happy and joyous in your work and your life and all those things rather than bitching and moaning and groaning and stressing out over the daily things that you're doing? You got to really think about that. What are you choosing? We're born with free will and choice. And I know it's hard to make those choices sometimes from where we come from. And I can get into a little bit of some science about the brain. And we're not just talking, the whole brain balance not only is left brain, right brain, but it's the hind brain, you know, the reptilian part. And then we have the frontal cortex up here. And the thing is through fear and disaster consciousness that we're born into, this trauma as we're born into, we start developing more of the hind brain. And what does that put us into? It puts us in a place of war consciousness, fear and disaster consciousness. But when we are born into a nurturing environment, and we've also been nurtured and not in a place coming from a place of stress or worrying of fear and everything, nurturing and love and really in that core actually develops the front brain, which is where we come from, a compassion and love and those kind of things. And that's where we connect to more of all that divine, all that oneness of life. So there's so much wonderful information and science out there to support all this that they're finding. You know, HeartMath does a lot. I love, there's a book called The Heart Mind Matrix, and it's by Joseph Turton Pierce. And boy, I'd love to get him on here. He actually wrote a book a while back that was called Crack the Cosmic Egg. And he is the most amazing man as far as helping us develop into a more partnership community and moving out of that dominating world, you know. So there's just so much that I feel, as far as connecting globally and making a difference globally, the best way we can do that and make a difference in the world is to love one's self first. Have a relationship with yourself. It doesn't, you can't look out into the world and say, you know, point the finger and say, I can't believe they're doing that. You know, that's awful. That's terrible. You know what? First, start inside here. Find the peace inside of here, because you can't do much all the way across there until you can give what you have inside of you. If you don't have love and peace and happiness and joy and compassion in your heart, you know, it's going to be hard for you to find it outside of you. And I know I got into my little, you know, heart box, is what I'm calling it, or no box. You know, I've had people go, gosh, you're so outside the box. And I go, what box? Oh, so anyway, back to you, Lynn. I don't know. So I was talking about Anna Marie Sanchez, because she's an amazing woman who actually, you know, came from a place where she's written a book called Girl from the Hood Gone Good. And so a lot of the trauma that she had gone through and how she's changed her life and how she's moving into a better world, to speaking at the UN. And, you know, this is a good friend of yours, Lynn. You know, why don't you say a little bit more about that? And before we do, 1 second, all of our shows are really easy to access. If you go to heartmonics.org and /AHS, we have every single one of them there. Also, all the goodies that they were offering and things like that. You know, they've all been amazing. So you tell us more about Anna, and then we'll also move into maybe some of the people that we're going to have on the show here coming up.
So what is the AHS?
Adventures Heart Show.
Oh, okay.
Made it really simple and easy. So AHS, Adventure Heart Show.
Okay. Now I have to change some stuff so that I'm in heart alignment with that, because I've got AOTH, Adventures of the Heart. But anyway, you know, when I think about one of the things that really brought Anna and me together was in sharing our stories of trauma as we were growing up. Very different stories, but stories nonetheless that told the truth of the pain that we suffered growing up. And one of the things that we were able to move each other through was some grounding around who we were and why we were here on this planet doing what we were doing. Me in the business side of things, and her doing her work to help heal the physical pain that physical and emotional pain that people were going through. And I remember telling Anna, this was so funny, because she often talked about her work being from light source and her being a light worker. And I thought, oh my gosh, if you're a light worker, maybe I'm like you. I remember having an experience with a woman in a shoe store. I'm in shopping, looking at this great shoe at the time. And this woman is standing across the aisle, and she looks at me and she says, please don't think me weird or insane, but I just got a message that I know I'm supposed to deliver to you. And I'm a spiritual person. I understand this, communicating with God, having conversations with God, and how God speaks to you, and all of this. And she says, so I'm like, no, go right ahead. If it's a message for me, I won't get it if you don't give it to me. And she said, you are an amazing light worker, and I am instructed to tell you that, and that you will make a huge impact in the world. And I guess I kind of gave her this look that startled her, because what she told me startled me. I had no idea what a light worker was at the time. And I thought, if I have to look at how my life is right at this moment, I really don't know what you're talking about. And what was so nice was, from my heart, I could really receive what it was that she said to me, and I could express a message of gratitude back to her for showing the courage to deliver this message. And I remember telling Anna that story and saying, so what's a light worker? And I know I'm telling on myself, but I didn't know. One of the things that I love being and doing is being curious. And so, she kind of helped me through that initial journey of experiencing being in the light, learning who I am of light. And that was all she wrote. We were best friends. And she saw in me someone who could help her with defining and designing her business vision and the future of her business. And not only has she gone on to write a book, she's a best-selling author, a New York Times best-selling author. She's traveled 3 or 4 times to the UN to speak on the floor at the UN about victim services. And one of the things that she has become aware of is, while there are a lot of people talking about what the UN knows, which is women and men, elderly and children, are being victimized traumatically, not just mentally, but physically, and to some horrendous degrees. And all of this is being brought to them, but the solutions being brought to them are few. And so one of the newest things we've been able to connect on and to kind of put in the realm of formulation for is to further a heart project that I originated, that Cynthia is a part of, and many that we've talked about, Aileen Bounty is a part of, which is the permission movement. And that movement beginning with teaching girls and women, young girls and women, life skills tools that will help them in their journey. And these are in particular women who are, girls who are aging out of foster care, who are looking at their lives of past and saying, if my life of future is anything like what I've experienced in my past, maybe I should end it right now. There are more youth suicides now than ever before in the history of children. Children die of natural causes, mortality. But now there are more children who are committing suicide than ever before in our history. You have children who are in small groups, having been victimized, thinking, what does life have for me if I have to bring this experience with me? Because they haven't heard the stories of survivors, of thrivers who come through on the other side and are doing things to help others. We're looking at women who are transitioning out of incarceration, who I remember looking at some information. There are more women in prison now than there are men. There are more women who are going to prison now than there are men in prison. So they're coming out and they're going back in, because life in prison is something that they know. something that they're familiar with how to survive in. Some of these women don't even remember what they did or where they were, what happened to get them in prison. They've been in prison so long, they've served their sentences 10, 20 years, and now they're looking at being released back into society, and they're thinking, I don't even know what this world looks like anymore. How do I survive? I'm a felon. What do I do now? And the project that we've been working on really addresses some of the issues that they've had and some of the skills, some of the tools that they can put in their life toolbox in order to help them to maneuver as they continue their life's journey in the free world. And when we talk about free, this is one of the conversations we've had with one of our guests as well. We talk about free and free will and, living in a free world. And somebody mentioned, but free isn't free. No, it isn't. Freedom is not free. Having free will is not free, because having free will, you still have to apply choice. And sometimes those decisions, those choices that we make, take a turn down the wrong road. And there's a series of consequences that we must pay in order to get back to the road of making those choices for ourselves again. And the work that Anna Maria is doing, the work that Aileen is doing, the work that Sarah is doing, and Marilyn and the Tall Trees, and Matt Perlstein with EQ, and emotional intelligence. It's been proven, scientifically proven, that the level of emotional intelligence, when it is increased in an individual, the increase in emotional intelligence is balanced off with the IQ, the intellectual side of intelligence, that healthier, happier, more fulfilled lives are being lived by individuals. And, when we think about past, and if we're living in the fact that our past really is who we are versus has helped us to become the who that we are, we're looking at perspectives. And Cynthia and I have had a lot of conversation. We will be having a lot of future conversations and conversations between us as well as with our guests about perception. Because even in perception, decisions are made that are choices that can take us in one direction or another. And, people tend to think not making a decision allows them the ability to not be responsible. And that's not true either. Mm-hmm. Making no decision is a decision. And so, it's about perspectives. And when you bring the perspective of heart into the matter, it changes everything. And that's what Anna is bringing to the United Nations conversation around speaking up for survivor rights and, just correcting the injustices to women in some third world countries where, they're still looked at as lower class citizens. And correcting situations where women are fighting back for their survival, yet something terrible happens, like someone is killed as a result. And this person who's fighting for her own life and her own safety is now a victim in prison because of it. A woman will leave her children to go to prison because she has a perspective on her relationship with a man that has caused her to make that kind of a choice, versus what Cynthia was talking about, really having the perception that you have value. And in that valuing of self, in that love of self, some choices, while they may be hard, are really to your best interest. And that choice may be to say no when you really want to say yes, or say yes when you really want to say no. But having the heart employed in your decision making is a shift in the paradigm of what it is that we've been taught, what it is that we've grown up as. You know, if you were a child that ever heard children should not be heard, or children should be seen and not heard. And on second thought, children shouldn't even be seen when adults are talking. So go to the next room, or, go sit down, just get out of my face kind of thing. And it's happened. It's probably happened to more people than not. Yet when we look at where am I now, that perception has to be from a place of heart, and it has to go first to you. I often talk about the analogy of, on the airplane, descending altitude too quickly, people can pass out and the oxygen masks drop. And the instructions are put yours on first, so that you then have the power to put the mask on someone else, to help someone else. And in life, in this day, this time, this is the message that we at Adventures of the Heart are communicating. It's our intention to communicate. And that's for everyone's benefit, including those that we don't even realize that we're touching their lives. This is how we can contribute to healing the world, healing self first.
Yeah. And I want to just speak to a few of the things you said, because you brought up perception, and perception is one of the most important points on how we see life. And it comes from our experiences, of course, that makes a difference. But I've done some studies where if we take the time to get in our hearts, and I have a, dancing girl, shadow, so you can tell whether you're in left brain or right brain, or in whole brain balances when you're in your heart. So when you're watching her, when you breathe deep into your heart and love yourself more today than you did yesterday, you start seeing her go back and forth. So you can get some feedback from when you are having thoughts of love and feelings of love, and compassion and kindness, you will see her change directions. And when you're seeing her change direction, that means you're getting in whole brain balance. And so it's really important to know that we also change our DNA completely. We can completely change our DNA through shifting into a place of loving consciousness, of loving ourselves. And it also changes how we communicate with our brain, because first everything starts in the heart and then goes to the brain. And they've also shown that, the heart is 60 times more 60 times more amplified, what's going out from the heart, and than any part of the body, that includes the brain, and 5,000 times more electromagnetic. So that's what's coming back. Also, as I said before, they've shown, that the way when we are in a nurturing, compassionate, kind way and at peace inside ourselves, our children develop in a healthier way. You were talking about children committing suicide and all those things. That's huge these days. You know why? Because so many kids are born, when they're born into the world, the way they've actually made how we're being born into the world, though, is very traumatizing. And, I really feel it was done on purpose, because it keeps us in the business of disease. And, people taking their lives and stuff, not feeling nurtured, not feeling wanted in this world, not feeling like they have anything to contribute. Their self-worth is hurting, all those kind of things. It's time to bring loving consciousness back into the world, to resurrect the heart. So important. And then, these women who are, Diane Sawyer had a special on 60 Minutes about all the more women here in the United States are going to prison than any place in the whole world. Why? Because, they're in a place where they're the ones supporting the family. They're doing everything they can, and sometimes they can't do that. And you know what? Women, moms will do whatever it takes to take care of their children, even if it breaks the law. And that's what's happening these days, because they have no other place to go, no other place to turn. And we need to really start seeing this, what's going on here. And again, and then you talked about curiosity, and I just put something on you, curiosity and indifference, not making the choice, that free will and choice that we do have. But sometimes, people do make that choice to not do anything. And that's called indifference. You're very indifferent to what's going on. That's kind of complacent or whatever. There's curiosity and indifference. And really, curiosity killed the cat. Satisfaction brought him back. And then I also add to that, stop trying to control life and start living it. We've been trying to control life for far too long. We've had come through parents and the education system and all this dominating world coming in and punishing us, and each individual for being who we are. You're not doing it my way. Do it this way. You're not doing it enough. I have so many clients, these mostly men who have these ideas that I ask them to say, hey, can you relax, do your best, and your best is good enough? Most of them can't say that. Most of them say to me, well, Cynthia, I can always do better. And I said, really? When you're doing your best, you can do better than that? Then you're not doing your best. But we've been, again, that's been that authoritarian, dominating model on top of it, rather than being in a partnership model where you just know that each individual that comes in this world is bringing a gift. They're bringing something new, a new contribution in the world that maybe have never been here. The signature sound of their own heart. Your signature sound of your heart is the most important thing that the world can have. That frequency that's going on, especially when you get it in a harmonic frequency, adds to and creates more abundant beauty and revitalizes and regenerates the world. And I can't wait to share that, because I have all kinds of science and everything on how we do regenerate and restore and create more abundance from being in compassion and love. And so I always say, if you want to save the world, love more. There you go.
It starts with yourself. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm looking at the time. I know we're getting close to the top of the hour.
Hey, I want to bring up one more person. Sunita Pandit.
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Cardiology.
Bring her up. Yes, Mrs. Cardiology. There's something to be said about.
Right? He's in Pennsylvania, right? Is that where
she's in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's something to be said about the science of the heart. And Mrs. Cardiology is the wife of a cardiologist. And she has just brought a life to the world of cardiology that is understanding heart from a different space. So she's in this whole medical environment, yet she speaks to the heart of love and how love shifts things. And she can talk to some of the patients about how the heart and love can help them heal. And it's really a shift from people who are saying, doc, I'm just in pain. Can you help me? Give me a pill, give me a shot, whatever. And, to help people too, to understand that when you're participating in your own healing, and not from a place of complacency, but from a place of activity and intention and love from your heart, your healing is so much faster and stronger. And yes, I actually had Mrs. Cardiology here. I was going to bring up, so thank you for reminding me.
And I love you brought in that part about her with how she teaches participation in your healing, because that's one of the things she brings in. She gives you a list. She has this little thing, list that she's put together on how you can participate with your doctor on helping you heal. Because, that's what she learned from, working with her husband, the cardiologist, and then, and then the patients who are coming in, because she supports her husband in the business. And she wanted to make it easier for both the patients and the doctor, and how they can collaborate together in the health. We don't, you should never go in and just turn everything over to someone. you need to participate in your own healing. So that's a big thing that we can probably end with here, coming into the
Well,
top
I
part
think
of it.
that's actually a huge segue opportunity
Yes.
to talk about who we're going to have on the show next.
Yeah, well, next week on Thursday, of course, at 6 Mountain, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, we're going to have Julie Eplenby. And right now she's in South Africa. I had a beautiful opportunity back in 2010 to visit her, and she teaches about the diamond light world, the diamond in the heart. She has an incredible she receives these light codes and lots, and she's I'm trying to remember if she's a physicist, and I'm forgetting right now, so I shouldn't even go there, but incredible work that she does around all the wonderful diamond light that's coming into the world. And I'm just really excited to see her and have this experience with her. Of course, she is over in South Africa. And so we're going to have to find that time zone to where we can all get together and really, make this happen and show up in the world and be with you guys with this exciting opportunity that we're having. And she's also the woman I laid in the crop circle with back in 2010, and it was an 8. And so it was preparing us for this year, 2015, for infinite possibilities and potential. And me meeting her was, again, a really crazy thing of how I was brought to meet her. And it had to do with my heart connection. And I was just divinely brought to her. And then my opportunity that I had to even to go to England, that's when she was living in England at the time, was amazing too. So I'm so looking forward to that. And so in that,
Cynthia,
as far as participation, why don't you on with the next level?
Let me participate by acknowledging those who have joined us tonight, who've actually even been commenting. Josie James, Dr. Ikena Finch, and Ron Harvey. Thank you, Ron, for being here with us tonight. And Jeffrey Dodd and Mamet Ajin. And Jeffrey actually had a couple of comments I think are pretty interesting here. He's saying it's really crazy, the institutionalization of some offenders in the correction system. It really is, just to think about the number of women who are being institutionalized or being put in prison and rehabilitated to be released, yet they feel more comfortable in going back to prison because they don't know what this world entails anymore. And the fact that what Cynthia said about mothers and how they will do anything to take care of their kids. And, Jeffrey also said that a lot of what he's hearing feels like a big recycling and restatement of what Jesus and Buddha and Krishna and more taught people. Ideally in their original social teachings. And you're right, love is the message. And, love heals, love creates, love supports and uplifts, and love builds strong relationships. And that is what we're talking about. So thank you for recognizing that and commenting and contributing, Jeffrey.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Much. Yeah, and I agree. It definitely, in my heart, I know that is the energy and the information and that has been shared and to transform our consciousness. And that's why those people were here, the masters were here and everything. Each time they came to at a time when that place, wherever they were, and able to bring that information about love. And hold that, I've said higher consciousness before, and I had someone say to me, there's really no higher consciousness. Well, loving consciousness is the highest, it is the highest of all. Love, I always say love creates all life through its desire for experience. And I really believe that the experience is the light. So the light comes in with love and creates life. And it's so important. I also believe that nothing would exist without love.
I agree. I agree. And it is a heart statement. It supports our heart venture. And we are in heart connection, and we're looking to build more heart connections. So join us again next week. Same place, same time. We're going to have a great show for you with Julia Ecklenby. And I just love the thought of diamond light. I love diamonds. I love the light that comes off of them, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and she calls it the jewel in the heart. So it's really amazing the information that she teaches us. Also about the auric field. You know, we've always been known to have this oval shaped auric field, so to speak. And she talks about how the octahedral, or the diamond, actually holds the higher energies that are coming into the planet and everything like that with us, so that we can be stronger. And so it's really the information that she'll be sharing with us is amazing. And I'll be sharing some of her information when we put out the show information for next week. So look for that. And so I just want to thank you all for showing up here and participating. It's so important that we do participate in our lives and really get into that participation of self-love. And when we get into that place, we're able to create relationships around the world. And it doesn't, it's abundance. And well, this is free, and we say nothing's ever free, but what does that really mean? So perception, again, it's what your perception is. And I always say an attitude and diet full of love is a life full of miracles. So your attitude, you make the difference with that.
And that's it. I'm so glad you said that, because free is something that is all around us. And yet, living life and living it in heart is probably the epitome of freedom. And, I so love the thinking around value that we have of late been talking and bringing more substance to. And I appreciate that too, because, even thinking about next week's show and the diamond light and the value that has been placed on the diamond gem, and the value that then, if we're looking at the diamond light being our heart, is in our hearts. And so it just, is free really a word? But that's another conversation.
Yeah. Or is it freedom or free? Are they the same thing? So yeah, that could be another conversation for another time. But meanwhile, thank you. I'm so happy that you guys, took the time, the freedom that you have to choose to join us here at Adventures of the Heart. And breathe deep into your heart and love yourself more today than you did yesterday. Any last words for you, Lynn?
Open hearts, open hearts. Make yours an open heart.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, and if anybody would like to join in a conversation, that you have anything, I'm going to go ahead and put a link here, because I'll hang around if anybody wants to come in and join me for a conversation. I'm not sure if Lynn can tonight, but all right. Here for so we'll put that link up, and you guys can come on in, because I'd love to have a conversation if there's anything that you'd like to speak to that we had talked about tonight. So thank you so much.
See you in the green room. Bye.